All right, so this is 2021 Vitus Sommet. Trying it. This is probably my third time riding this bike, first time filming it. See how it goes. This actually has prolonged climbs, good amount of descents for Long Island standards. See how it handles. Yeah, we're gonna go Sand Mine Hill. Okay. All right, Sand Mine Hill climb on the summit. This has a little bit more of a bob compared to the Revel, but it feels like it pushes off easier on the initial pedal stroke, whereas the rail feels like it absorbs the first. Damn it! I knew this part was coming. I still didn't do it. Whereas the rail absorbs the energy off the top. That's why it's a terrible sprinter from what I've rode. This one actually is a little more sprightly off the top, but sinks into its travel a little more at sag. Good climbing position. Yeah, I think this bike pedals a little better. We'll see when we get to Sidewinder. This is my third time riding this bike, as I said in the intro. And I've actually filmed the bike twice. I filmed it the first time doing a very technical trail in Long Island called Hempstead Harbor Woods. But I didn't publish the video because it was just a short ride and I didn't get a full feel of the bike. Today I am riding the bike at Stillwell Woods, where there is more prolonged climbs. When I say prolonged, I'm talking like maybe 2-3 minute climbs. So we'll see how this thing does. I also rode at my home trail at Cunningham, but that one was kind of a spontaneous thing, so I was doing the technical stuff as well, but I had no film or footage of. That was my very first ride, so no footage of that one. So in the beginning, you're gonna see some footage cut back and forth between the Hempstead Harbor one and also at Stillwell. Still tiring. Climb you. So the specs on this bike, it is a 2021 Vitus Sommet CR 27. So that means it's a 27.5 bike. This is a size medium. I am 5'8" with an inseam of 32 inches. Here are the geometry numbers. It's got a reach of 449 millimeters, 45 mil stem, 780 bars, chainstay is 435 millimeter, head tube angle is 64 degrees, effective seat tube is 76.5. It's got a 150 mil drop on a dropper post. Wheelbase is 12-17 millimeters, so pretty long bike. Travel is 170 front, 170 rear. Comes with a RockShox Yari front fork, and it's got a RockShox Super Deluxe with just the rebound adjustment on the rear shock. It's got 2.5-inch Assegai tires and 2.4-inch DHR2s in the rear. The Assegais are in the front. So my friend bought the Vitus Sommet CR 2021 model because he wasn't sure if the 2021 Nuke Proof Mega would ever come back in stock. My friend Tim has the 2021 Nuke Proof Mega Comp 27.5. I reviewed that bike back in the fall of 2020, and we all rode it. We were all so impressed with how that bike rode, especially for how much travel that it had. So he had to get one on his own, but there was no stock, and in fact, the bike never came back in stock. So how does this bike ride? I rode it in 3 different trails, so I kind of have an okay idea of it. Didn't really push it because I didn't take it to the bike park, so I didn't really take it on any big jumps. On small little bump jumps, the thing does have some pop in it. This thing does pedal good, especially when I rode back to back between this bike and the Rebel Rail. This bike, I can do the whole lap of Stillwell, no problem, through all the climbs and everything. It was only on like the 2-3 minute climbs is when I noticed that the power really wasn't as snappy, so it really is one of those, yeah, you just sit there and you spin, and it'll get to the top. But it's kind of pointless to sprint or put extra power because that surge is not there. But that's to be expected. I mean, it still pedals really good and climbs really good for a bike of 170 mil travel in the rear. How the bike feels in terms of fit, because the seat tube angle is so steep, it makes the reach when seated very, very short, and when you stand up it feels normal, and when you climb it feels like the bars want to come to your hips. But the bike climbs really well, no issue of the front wheel wanting to come up. Bike feels balanced. I was able to track stand this thing right off the bat, no problems. The only issue that I have with the fit is just the bars. The grips are so tiny, and I felt the stem may be a little short for me because the seated reach just feels short because of the steep seat angle. But these are all contact points that people change anyway when they get their bike, so I can't really fault them for this. This bike on the downs actually doesn't drag. As I let the bike kept rolling, it actually kept building speed. So I don't have to keep sprinting just to even maintain any momentum.
Thing rolls so smooth. It actually
the suspension also felt plush, but still supportive, where if I do sprint, it does actually accelerate forward. And I didn't come anywhere near bottoming out the suspension, again, because this bike is made for a lot more than what this trail is able to provide on Long Island. So how does this bike feel compared to the 2021 Nuke Proof Mega Comp? They're both the base model. This has a carbon front triangle. I really don't feel any benefits to it. Supposedly they both weigh exactly the same. There is no reviews on this bike by regular mountain bikers besides their sponsored riders or from Chain Reaction themselves. So this will probably be the first one of somebody actually having this bike and riding it and giving you their impressions. I honestly can't really distinguish the difference between how this bike rides and how the Nuke Proof Mega Comp rides. They both feel almost the same. I would say maybe the Nuke Proof Mega is a little easier to get pop off the rear suspension, and maybe the Mega sprints a little easier, but the Mega I rode in the fall, so the dirt rolls a lot better. I'm riding this thing both times in the winter, so according to the trail conditions, everybody knows it can really affect how the rolling speed is and how much effort you have to put into getting this thing to move. So it's not really a fair assessment, but just the general feels of the bike is very, very similar. I won't be able to tell them apart, to be honest with you.
Ooh, that was nice. Very nice.
This section here with the roots between the two trees, I literally just put it in a low gear, just sat down and spun the cranks, and it just made it through it, no problems. On this exact same section on my hardtail, actually it requires some pre-planning, requires a little bit of finagling, so this was one of those parts where I was like, wow, that was so easy. So what do I like about the Summit? Well, the price is awesome. I mean, when Phil bought it before the whole Brexit thing and the price went up 10% on every single bike from the UK, it was $3,000. That was $300 more than what the Mega cost, but you do get a carbon front triangle. Component specs are pretty much identical. They both come with the Dior 12-speed. They both come with the Dior 4-piston brakes all around, 203mm all around, Yari suspension, RockShox Super Deluxe with just the rebound adjustment. Same 150mm dropper post, nuke-proof cockpit. It's almost the same bike as I led to. Nothing on this bike is left wanting from the factory. You can just take this bike straight out of the box, set up the suspension to your likings, your cockpit, and just go shred. Bike has a ton of compliance, has a good firm platform to ride on. You can pump this thing. It, again, pedals. It sprints. Really, really surprisingly good for a 170 mil travel bike. Cons on this bike. I'm really reaching here. Like I said, it's just the cockpit. The grips, that's a preference thing, but the stock grips are just too tiny. I'm used to running the Ergon GA2 fat grips. And the 31.8 millimeters bars kind of wimpy. I'm used to riding 35 mil bars. The hub engagement, it's not the greatest. It's got the sun ring glare hub in the rear. So, but it's still maybe like 15, 16 degrees of engagement, I believe. And yeah, that's really it. That's stretching. I can't really fault this bike for anything. Even with the assegais up front, this bike doesn't drag. It just goes. I mean, this bike could definitely be your only bike. I mean, if this was my only bike, I wouldn't complain. Just don't expect it to fly up a hill. But if you just sit there and spin, you can totally make it up the hill, no problem. Just a little less eager to do it, but it's absolutely doable. The suspension has enough support to actually allow you to find little side hits and pop off the ledges, roots, bump jumps, sprint. Yeah, really good bike for the money. Excellent value. I'd rock it. Hell yeah, I'd be happy rocking this bike. So that's my impression of the bike. Thanks for watching. Bye.